Good morning and welcome to Peace Out. I think I'm up and running. I'm watching these stream metrics to make sure they're streaming because that's my first signal is when it goes to zero and then it's like, oh, it's not streaming, and then somebody goes, you're gone. So, but here we are. So far so good, right? Anyway, I hope you're having a great morning. Hope you're having a great week. March is almost over. Can you believe that? Wow, tomorrow's it. Means the rent's due. So I'm taking donations. No, I'm just kidding. I've got it covered. Got it. God's got it covered. Anyway, I hope you're having a good month though, and I hope you're ready for spring because it looks like it's finally spring and ready to get moving towards summer, and then we can complain about the heat instead of the cold, right? Just something new to, right now we can complain about the storms. There's always something to complain about. Complaining is a choice. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of going to talk about that just a little bit this morning. Not a whole lot. That's not really the focus. My focus is this. I was thinking about the in-between spots, right? God tells you something, you're like, "Wow, this is awesome!" Or you hear something, a new scripture, and you go, "Oh, this is awesome! He gave us peace, right? He gave us peace. He gave us faith, so we could trust Him, right?" And so you got all these things, but then there's this in between place where it's gotta where you gotta work it out. And that's where we get caught up. So I started thinking about some things. I started with Moses. I spent a lot of time thinking about Moses and the children of Israel. But God says, I'm going to come get my people. Come on, Moses, let's go get my people. Moses is like, all right, but I need some help. Okay, come on, Aaron. They go get God's people. They have the plagues, the mighty demonstration of God's power, and they all leave Egypt, and they're all so excited. And then they run into the Red Sea, and immediately they start in. Wasn't it better for us to just stay there? Were there not enough graves in Egypt? Could we not just die in Egypt instead of you? But instead, you're going to bring us out here to die? They were in the in between. God promised, let's go get them. Let's take them to my promised land. I'm going to take you to the promised land. That's all they needed to know, but they got in that in between and they ran into the Red Sea. Pharaoh's army chased them. They didn't have water. They didn't have the food they wanted, or they thought they didn't have food. God provided all along the way. It was in the in between spot that really tested them. And sometimes we get caught in the in between spots, but there's more stories like that. We've talked about several of them here just on Peace Out regularly. Like Joseph, God gave him the dreams of his whole family bowing down before him, but there was that in between spot where he got sold into slavery. God forgot to tell him that part, right? Then he was falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, and then he's in prison. But the difference in Joseph and the children of Israel, and this is just my opinion, is that the children of Israel were complaining and whining and moaning and groaning. See, God brings them out of Egypt. They run into problems, and they're ready to die, right? I can't say I haven't done that myself a time or two, right? But they're ready to just give up, and they're like, God brought us out here to die. And God set them in the wilderness for 40 years so they could learn about Him. Yeah, that's really what kind of happened. He gave them the Ten Commandments so that they knew, don't lie, cheat, steal, don't defraud your neighbor, take care of one another, serve God. That's all the Ten Commandments is. Treat others right and put God first. That covers it. That covers the Ten Commandments. But he took most of the book of Exodus, right, to fill in all those blanks for them because they didn't get it. They were in the in between, and they lost sight that he said, let's go to the promised land. Joseph didn't lose sight. I think I know that. This is my opinion. So look out. Opinion alert. But Joseph didn't lose sight because when he was tested by Potiphar's wife, when he was tempted, he said, I can't sin against my master or God. He still had God in the picture. The children of Israel, they built a golden calf. They did all kinds of crazy. They had brought the idols with them out from Egypt. They never really quite were all in, but Joseph stayed connected in his in between. No, and I'm sure while he was sitting in that jail cell for all those years, he didn't know how God was going to bring it to pass, but he just kept trusting. Right? He held on to the in between, but now we have some other in betweens, like David. David was anointed king, and then you don't hear anything about it for a while. He kills Goliath. We got that story, different things like that, and then but somehow in there God forgot to tell him Saul's going to chase you for several years, right? So God chased him for several years. In that in between part, God forgot to tell him you're going to be on the run, dude. He just told him he was king. He didn't tell him about the in between part. Samson had an in between. Now God prepared Samson though. He told Samson, "Don't tell anyone your secret." That would have had Samson obeyed that one little command, what seems really simple. Had he obeyed that, the story might have played out differently. However, it doesn't matter because what God said in the beginning, He did in the end. But the in between spots are are the parts that where we get lost, right? The in-between spots are where we lose sight of what God said because we're being hit with maybe we don't have food, maybe we're not sure how we're going to pay the electric bill, but God said He's going to provide. But the in-between spots are where the problems lie. Right? Those in-between spots are where we have to sit sometimes like the children of Israel did in the wilderness and just learn about God. Don't lose hope. Don't lose faith. Don't lose peace. Just sit and learn about God in the in between. If you're not sure, I know God was taking me this way and now I'm not sure what's happening, just stop and learn of him. Just stop and seek him more. The children of Israel had to spend 40 years in the wilderness and it wasn't that long of a journey. They could have just walked across. That doesn't mean it was an easy journey, but they could have just walked across, right? They could have just been there. They could have been progressing all that time, but they had to sit and learn about the temple. They had to sit and learn about the presence of God. They had to sit and learn about how God was going to provide. They had to sit and learn about what God likes, what God doesn't like. And they learned his character. Remember, he said, Moses knows my ways and you just know my deeds. They saw what God could do in Egypt, and that wasn't even enough. So he taught them his ways as they were in the wilderness, in that in-between spot. So in-between spots aren't wasted. In-between spots test our faith. In-between spots help us learn, do I know how to let his peace reign? Do I really trust God with this? Our in-between spots are those testing grounds. Like Samson. Samson failed it. There's just no two ways about it. God said, don't tell. He didn't tell him there was going to be a Delilah, right? Yet he told him, don't tell. That would have preserved him. It could have come a different way. Who knows? But in the end, God still did what he said he was going to do with Samson. He still did what he said he was going to do with Joseph. He still did what he was going to do with David. He still brought the children of Israel out of Egypt, and eventually their children got to the promised land because they never quite trusted God in that in-between spot. So my encouragement to you today is continue to trust God if you're in a in between spot. If you're in a if you're in that waiting spot, if you're in the waiting spot, that's not a fun spot to be in. We can sing, let's wait on the Lord. Wait, I say, wait on the Lord. Right? We can sing that, but then when we're done singing, it's like, oh, this is torture, right? That's the hard stuff. The in between is the hardest spot you'll ever be in. But if you stop and get your eyes off of the spot and on the spot you can learn his character like the children of Israel did. You can learn more about what he likes and you can learn more about him than what he just does. Because sometimes when we're waiting, we think, God's just going to strike us with a bolt of lightning and kill us or something, right? If we step across the line and we don't do something we're supposed to do because we don't really know him. But faith is the substance of what you're hoping for. What you're hoping for, getting what you're hoping for is not the substance, you guys. Faith is the substance. Moses grew in faith across the wilderness while he waited on the think about it, Moses was in a really tight spot. He knows God, he understands God, he gets his ways and not just his deeds. He understood his deeds because he knew his ways. He knew God's character. And he even told him, it's not like you to bring your children out here and just let them die. So what you going to do, right? He knew who God was, right? Abraham knew God's character. He said, it's not like you to kill the sinners with the righteous with the sinners. If there's 10 people in the city, will you not wipe it out? Right? So Abraham knew his character, not just what he could do. And so that waiting spot, that in-between spot, when that I don't know what to do spot, is a perfect time to just dive into the Word and dive into prayer and worship and learn more about God. Learn more about this Prince of Peace. Learn more about the one who gives us that peace in those tight spots. Learn more about the one who provides for us like he did Abraham. Learn more about his salvation, his healing power, who he is, because that's what the in-between spot is for. Moses got it. Not sure the children of Israel ever did. David got it. Joseph got it. I don't know if Samson got it or not. In the end, he figured it out, right? And so I'm sure he called out to God in those last dark years of his life, I'm sure, right? But it's that in between spot that can suck the life out of us. It's that in between spot where those questions are raised. It's that in between spot where you have to decide, am I going to accept his peace and let it rain? Am I going to accept his grace? Am I going to accept his new mercies every morning? Am I gonna follow God? Am I gonna just let go and say forget it? Hey, look, I got a lot of in between spots. I got some blood on my testimony here. I got a lot of spots, a lot of sleepless nights where I'm like, forget it, God. You ain't even answering. I don't even care, right? There's in between spots are tough, but they're where we're tested. Are we gonna trust God or try to do it ourselves? Abraham tried to do it himself and got an Ishmael, right? We don't even need to talk about where that ended up, right? So if you're in an in-between spot, and if you're not in an in-between spot, prepare for it. Start memorizing some scriptures now. Think about some stories now. Think of ways, find ways to encourage yourself now. Because when you're in that in-between spot, you want to find a way to just hold on to God and trust Him. And my brother said to stay focused on those in-between spots, right? And so we want to stay focused on God no matter what happens around us, because this world, you guys, it's a mess. And if you just look at that, you're going to cave. If you just look out there at that, you're not going to have peace. You're going to have worry. You're going to have stress. And there's enough stress without all that, right? You're going to have what did I say? Worry, stress. It's gonna overcome you. But we got to keep our eyes on Him. Keep our heads and hearts in His Word and keep His Word in our hearts so that we can survive these in-between spots. That's where we choose. The in-between spot is where you choose. Am I going to trust what God said? Is He really going to take us to the promised land? Or do I really think we're going to die? Because did they really think they were going to die? Were they just trying to pressure Moses? Were they just being manipulative? Great, Moses, you brought it out here to die. That in between spot is where you make those choices. But it's easier making those choices on those in between spots if you've already made the big choice. See, if you make this one big choice and you just go, God, I'm just going to trust you. No matter what I see, no matter what happens in the world out there, no matter what happens in our world in here, I'm just going to trust you. Making that choice will help you make it through the in-between spot. See, Moses never faltered. Now he disobeyed once, but he never said, "Okay, God, is this what you wanted for us? You just wanted to kill it." He never joined in with the children of Israel. He kept his eyes on God. He knew what God had promised, and he just kept pressing towards what God had promised, no matter what it looked like. And talk about being in between. He's in between the all-powerful, all-knowing, all-doing God who's promised to take them to the promised land, and a whole bunch of whiny little people that are going, oh, we're just gonna die. Why did you bring us out here? Poor Moses, right? Moses stayed dedicated to the journey. He kept his eyes on God and he kept pressing towards the promise, right? So today, if you're in an in-between spot, just stop and say, God, I trust you. I trust you for everything you said in this word. I trust you for everything you've promised me. And I'm just going to keep pressing towards the promise. I'm just going to keep trusting this God of peace, right? So today you can just peace out, knowing that He's got it. He's got you. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.